Well, I'm live here again. My laptop died. The battery charger plug fell out. Those things happen. But I'm back here, and I'm using another device, and I think it has... I'll plug it in just to make sure. My laptop hates it when I do that. Oh, someone's back. There's one person back. Anyone else? The rest of you guys going to show up? You almost had about 8 people there. Come on back. I'm here. Word up, baby. Citizen gangsta. Maybe I don't need to plug you in. Let's put you like that. Put you down there. Come on back. Now there's 2 of you. It's live chat. Come on, someone do some chat. Oh, someone did. Hello, Martyred Artist. So, Martyred Artist is there. There's 3 of you. My laptop died. That's the only thing I can do. You know, I'm going to hop. No, I'm not. What I'm going to do is get up and stretch my legs, because I haven't stretched my legs for the last 20 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, however long that was. So the live chat is working. Martyred Artist said hello. There's 2 of you there, I think. No, and you left? Come on, guys. Come on back. My butt. Oh. Okay. Oh, yeah, there's 2 of you there. I'm going to sit in the lounge chair. The chair's a bit too hard. A bit too harsh. Oh, there's 3 of you there. Lana, did you make it back? Or was it too late for you? Well, that was fun. It will probably go up. But because the battery died, my laptop and my channel really don't like it. It sometimes takes a day or 2 for it to get up there. Oh, Lana's back. Hello, Lana. So I'm on my other device, my old phone that doesn't work as a phone. So this phone I was given by. So when the event happened, and my friend came and got me because he was scared that I would die where I live if a hurricane came through it. And he was smart, because half the forest was shot. None of my stuff, my car, my little trailer, and my deck, it didn't get. But the road in there, that for half a mile, was just, forget about it. So we had got the keys for the community center 2 days before the event, right? We were supposed to get it a year. We had to deal with these morons, and we got it, and then the event happened, and so we went there, and they had taken like the heat out, the hot water out. They tried to get the kitchen out, but they couldn't, and so they just kind of disconnected everything and moved it around a bit, and just left it, and took a lot of this furniture and stuff out, and the computers that they were there, they just took out in the parking lot and smashed and threw in the dumpster. I mean, if they had left them, then they'd be there for people to go on the internet with. Anyway, so my bud, he was all pissed off about this. And I said, no, this is much better, because 2 days later, we're out because it's really, if they had left everything in, it was all full of stuff, and now it's empty, and now we can figure out what to do with it. And we're standing in there figuring out, and it's like 4 p.m, and the storm has already passed, and the sky is turning blue, and the sun is going down. It's kind of nice. It's like 70 degrees. It's not really wet. And we went down the state road, and it was washed out about 2 miles from where we were. But the other end, where you could get on the interstate, was fine. So people could get to us, but from where we were out to where all the other people were who were stranded out there, that was going to be the interesting thing. And so, oh, my glasses, I left them over there. Anyway, long story short, we're there for 20 minutes, and you open up the doors. We kind of keep them open to have air go through the thing, and I'm sniffing and to make sure there isn't black mold anywhere. And it's still kind of sunny, but the sun is going behind the mountain. So, in about 2 hours, it's going to be dark-ish. Still summer-ish. It's September-ish. Anyway, so this guy drives up in a red, like, fire truck, but not a fire truck, but an emergency vehicle. And it's got flashing lights and all kinds of, and he goes, "Do you have the internet?" And we look at him and say, "What, are you nuts? We have nothing except this building here." And he goes, "Listen," and he goes, "Look at this." And we look, and it's like a spaceship on the inside. He's got these screens everywhere. He's got satellite pictures. He's got readouts from every governmental entity and other things. And he goes, "So you don't have the internet?" And we say, "No." He goes, "Well, I have a Starlink." And he opens up the back of his truck with all these compartments and tools and everything you could ever think of. And he's got like 5 or 6 of these Starlink satellites. He goes, "I'm from Microsoft, and I am part of their nonprofit entity, and we respond to catastrophes." Right? I said, "Oh, it's not sweet." And so he's got a big 24-foot extension ladder, and in the back of the thing, generators. And he goes, "Obviously you have nothing, right?" I said, "Right." I said, "But look, these generators, we can use these." And he goes, "No problem." So he goes, "Where do you want me to drop?" I said, "Come here." And so we drive around the school, and the big doors where the boiler was, that they kind of took out half the stuff so we don't have heat, the utility pole drop is right there, and a big, like, 1942 circuit, when they first had circuit breakers, it's a Federal Pacific big panel, and there's a plug down below, a like stove plug, right, for a welder, right, because this is the whole heating system is steam, so all these pipes are welded. So I go, "Drop that big one right here outside," and he goes, I said, "What's it run on?" He goes, "Well, it runs on anything, gasoline or propane." And he goes, "I have these 2 big full propane tanks. I mean, the big ones that last, for like a month or 2 or 3, and at constant running." So the 3 of us drop the big generator down, and then he drops 2 of the tanks there, and he's got the hoses to hook it up, and he's got this beautiful big cord, right, about 40 feet long. And it plugs, it's like a screw plug into the generator itself, so it can't be pulled out. And it's got 40 feet, and it goes out to a thing that you think into. I said, this is good. And so I take that plug, and in the wire, I bring it I take a knockout out, I put it in, I just clip off 2 of the just enough wire, and I still have another 20 feet of this great pluggy thing. And I wire it straight into the panel, and he's got these great bright lights. So, he starts it up before I start doing my electric thing. And I got a light in there so I can really see what I'm doing. And he's only been there for 30 minutes, and he's dropped his ladder off, and he drives his truck, I go into his take the tools I need, and there's a bucket over there. I kind of put my tools in his tools in the bucket, and so he puts the satellite thing up there, drops the wire down. We crack a window. It goes into this closet. Anyway, generator is working. I get it wired into the panel. I turn off the main that goes to the outside world. I hit, I close my eyes, push the button, bang, the whole school lights up like a Christmas tree. And so nothing in the forecast, that whole part of the state had electricity. And everything it was just getting dark, and the whole school was lit up by, LED. So it's brighter than God, and it's on top of a hill. And so it was unbelievable. And it was like everyone could see it for miles around and knew that, okay, we can go there. And there are a couple of tables, so we kind of put them in off the side of where this closet was, where he stuck all the satellite equipment. And we plugged everything in. We had it, and he put 6 Wi-Fi things around the facility. So anywhere within, if you were in a car or driving by, pulled off on the side of the road, you could get Wi-Fi. And it was no passcode, nothing, just free Wi-Fi. That's what you looked on your phone and it said free Wi-Fi. Hit that, bango, you were connected. And not only that, you could call out over Starlink anywhere in the world. And so we had that. So he dropped the other 3 generators in a protected space, and a bunch of tools, a bunch of extension cords, and about 20 bright, work lights. And he goes, "I'll be back." Anyway, he kept coming back, and we kept doing other stuff. And by the 3rd day, he goes, "Listen, I need to always be able to get a hold of me." And he went in the back of his vehicle, and he gave me this, right? Because my other phone, which was a joke, just didn't work. Wouldn't even want to work even on our Wi-Fi thing. So he just took, he basically opened up this box. There were about 100. This is a iPhone 12. And he goes, "What color you want?" And I said, "Yellow. I can find it. If I lose it, I don't know why they make these phones black. I can never find them." My name is Robert. Well, guys, you got to hold on there for stupid thing will go nuts if I don't just do this. It has to be. Put that down. Anyway, so I have the one phone that I can call out, but we don't have the satellite anymore. I have to go up the other side, go upstairs. There's too many steps. It was nice when the Wi-Fi. I mean, we still have Wi-Fi. He kept that here, but okay, let's see what you guys are saying. Okay. Well, you guys have been talking for a bit. Let's see. All right, hello. Yeah. Watch out, Martin, for what you ask. Mrs. Hilton review. Yeah, the egg breaker. Yeah. Robert. Do 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 do. So, I'm just. and that's the truth. Lana, it's just the truth. Oh, Marker 113. Good to see you. I'm not taking a dump. No. I just been toting that bale, lifting that thing, and everything here is concrete. Walking on concrete really. And sleeping on concrete is even worse. Rachel, good to see you, bud. I'm always ready for whatever. After I died in 2014 and I got rid of everything I had, one of the things I did, there is, what's the name of that book? Sid Arthur, right? And so it's a very good book for young white Anglo-Saxon guys, teenage boys who want to be enlightened, right? And so Sid Arthur is, he's an Indian version of a white boy who wants to be enlightened. So he becomes an aesthetic, one of those people who simplify that, they get rid of everything they have except a diaper. And they're kind of looked at as holy men. And in the modern days, I don't think they've looked at that way. But anyway, in the book it is. And so he goes into that whole philosophy of aesthetics. And Sid Arthur is a very good book to describe that philosophy. Sid Vicious. Anyway, so when I died in 2014, and, I had a nice conversation with God, and he was patting me on the back and what a great job I was doing, but I was not done. I had got back. And one of the things I realized when I went back to just make it easier on myself, I was going to get rid of everything. I was going to make my life, I could still be comfortable, but I just got rid of things that were convenient, right? Now, compared to like living in the Gaza Strip, my life is a lot more convenient, but little Buddha movie. And so anyway, I live out in the woods, and everything I walk on is relatively soft. It's the earth, I'm on the earth, right? So now when I'm here in the undisclosed location, everything is concrete. It's like a bunker, it's like underground. It's a missile silo, it can withstand a hydrogen bomb. So it's a little, hard, right? And so being here for the last few days, even though I got myself a relatively, a couch to sleep on, what do you call those things? You said the advertisement on the TV about the fold out bed. Anyway, it's relatively, it's way more comfortable than what I was sleeping on when I was sleeping on the concrete floor, and it's also about 2 feet off the ground, so it's easier to get out of that than getting off the concrete floor. So, but I've been walking on concrete, sleeping on concrete, till I got this thing, and even that is somewhat. It's not like my rack in the man cave. It's just it's like sleeping in the womb. But it's even with heat. I have electric heat in that thing, and it was only in the 20s and 40s in December, and it cost me $112 to heat it to be, 58 degrees. And so it's been in the single digits the last week and a half, and that would probably cost me too much. So I don't have the money to heat the thing. So anyway, so that's why, I'm a little sore. So moving around, I go, ooh, that's what my mom did. I have everything my mom had. I have everything my dad had. And so my mom, the real problem with me is I have neuropathy, right? And when I went to a real good nerve doctor here. It always works out. I had a great doctor, right? A major practitioner that everyone respected. He started the nonprofit thing to take care of all the people who didn't have health care. And then COVID came, and he got it 3 times, and the medical whole scene. I mean, COVID did a number on the medical institutions of the United States. And so he just quit. He said, listen, I've done this 60 years. I don't, when before COVID, everything was fine. I was like Santa Claus. It was my shtick. It was my gig. But now it's like sucks, and I'm out of here. And he told me this. He goes, I'm leaving tomorrow. I said, what do you mean you're leaving tomorrow? He goes, yeah, they gave me an offer I couldn't refuse, and I'm just going to go to Pago and lie on beach and drink cocktails and have cute young girls fan the flies away. I said, well, good luck, bud. You've been a good friend, good doctor. And he goes, you'll be fine. And, I am. So the guy who took his place is a jerk. But he does everything by the book. And so when I needed a new pair of orthopedic shoes, he goes, oh, you had to be, you haven't been tested in 4 years. That's because the other guy knew exactly what was going on in my body. And so he would just sign on for the orthopedic shoes and I would get them. But this morning, so I had to go to a neurologist. I had to go to a specialist neurologist. I had to go to a physical therapist and a bone doctor and this doctor just to get the frigging pair of orthopedic shoes. And the people who made them for me and had been for the last 6 years, I said, what if I want to buy them? What do they cost? And they said, $1,600. I said, what? Just regular shoes with shivs that you put in there. You put my foot in a box of styrofoam and then you pour some glop into it and that's $1,600. I go, yep. Or you can just go through all of that and have I said, okay. I said, when you first started doing this, the doctor whose shop it is, I said, when you first started doing this, how much did they cost? He said, $12. I said, has anything changed? I mean, was back when it was $12, was it still the same cardboard box with a piece of styrofoam that you just pressed the foot in and then you poured the glop in and then it was same thing. And that's American healthcare for you. From $12 to $1,600. So anyway, but it all worked out because I got myself a neurologist, I got myself a bone doctor, I got all these doctors who get, So now I have like $1 million healthcare, along with I take 2 medicines, then I'm a lab rat. And so I have an endocrinologist. I have all these other doctors that even rich people don't get, and I don't have to pay for it because I'm a lab rat, right? It's fine, right? So anyway, but those 6 months of having to go through all of that, put a wear and tear on things that didn't need to be wore and torn. And so I got those nice shoes, and I went back to walking in the woods, and everything was fine. And now, because things are getting problematic with the community, not so much me, but I have to take care of them. But anyway, that's why I came back from the dead in 2014, and I had to sell off all my properties and money and change my life. I could have stayed working for the corporate world and still made a lot of money, but I'd probably die, and I wouldn't have gone through this inconvenient period of my life. Right? Still comfortable. Where I live is very, very, very comfortable. For 340 days, up until 4 years ago. It's 2005 now. How time flies. So 7 years ago, when I left John Boy, I would leave. I would be here a lot. This was my place to get away from it all. My fallout shelter, yes. Anyway. So, so Lana, do me a favor and email me at the dudeawake42@gmail. If now, if you can, or after we get off the phone. What time is it anyway? Let's look at this other thing here. Oh, it's still, God, it's not even 9 o'clock here. It feels like it's 3 a.m. It's 3 a.m. where you are, Lana, though. So email me, the dudeawake42@gmail. Lana, do you have Gmail, or do you have some other? Yeah, exactly. It's the devil's hour. Yep. That's so. Lana, do you want to explain? So, see, that's why you're not all Swedish, because your sensibility is where it was formed when in your formative years before you went to Sweden. But your worldview, I would say, is Swedish, because the Swedish have one of the most interesting worldviews / sense of humor, right? Because it's what is it? Let me try to explain it, and you clean it up. Form Swedish view, yes. The Swedish sensibility / sense of humor is this kind of detached view of things, but it's right there. It's like honest, true blue, and that's why you could be either that, like why the movie Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is probably one of the best describers of Swedish, that sensibility / sense of humor / worldview um, way Swedish act as and so all of those different characters, and you meet a lot of characters, not just the girl and the reporter guy and or um, the Hannibal Lecter character, which you don't have any idea that he is. You might get a little inkling, a little bit. If you knew anything about the Swedish view, you would um, yeah, exactly. And so they're comfortable and uncomfortable with each other at the same time. Uh, anyway, 4 foot near, and that's why it's interesting. So I had a lot of Swedish friends. Explain this too. Um, is that there's Swedish people who are in Sweden, and then there's Swedish people who are, you know, travel around and live in other countries for years, and they're they live in those. What do they call it when you are like English living in Spain, or there's a term for that. But anyway, the Swedish who leave Sweden never are. It's kind of like ABBA, you know. I met ABBA once, and I worked in rock and roll, and so I was the ME at. I worked in rock and roll slash theater slash movies, and so I was an electrician for all of those things. And so I worked at um, Carnegie Hall. I was an ME at Carnegie Hall, and because I was in Nabathan and IATSE, I worked at Madison Square Garden, MSG. That's what Madison Square Garden, MSG. And so ABBA performed there, and so I was there when they loaded in. I was there when they did a sound test, and then we had 6 hours to kill, and for some reason they kind of turned to me and goes, "Where's a good place to eat around here?" And I took them over to Tony Tutoy's Mobsters Walmart's. It's right next to on the outside of 8th Avenue, right next to Port Authority Bus Terminal. There's this big kind of vegetable store, and they have oranges and apples and fruit on the sidewalk. Which, if you're, I want an orange, and you can buy it there. And then they have another rack of stuff behind it, and then another behind that, and then there's the wall, and then there's this kind of the kind of doors that go in and out. They're like at a supermarket, and if you go in, it's like, kind of like a warehouse, but you go deeper, and it becomes a whole nother world. And it's that, if you ever seen the movie Goodfellas, and when the guy who's telling the story, he, he's never going to be a made man, but he's in the crew, right? And him and Joe Pesci are two guys. Joe Pesci can be a made man because he is of the lineage, and but he's nuts. And there's Robert De Niro. Again, he's part of the crew. He's high on the echelon, but he's never going to be a made man. And so our boy is at this country club thing, and the guys, the young Turks there, are making fun of him. And there's this girl who, or the guy, is Oh, she's hot. I like her. Nice Jewish girl, right? He's Italian or Irish, whatever he was. And so he's just goes straight up to us. Let's go out, you know. And she, well, I don't know. You're not Jewish. I did, you know. And she does that whole little dance. And he goes, yeah, you want to stick with this dick, you know? And the guy goes, oh, right? And so, you know, he basically, um, you know, this guy says something to him. He says, "You get in my face again, you're dead," right? And so, you know, the next day he comes by in another car that, you know, he was driving this one nice car. Now he's driving another car that's nice, and he drives right up to the girl's, you know, out there in Long Island, and you know, picks her up and goes, "Let's go out." And the guy who gave him a hard time comes, "You're in our neighborhood. You're not supposed to be here." And he just turns around and beats him to a pulp. You know, one more punch, he's going to be dead. And she goes, "Don't kill him. I'll go out with you." And so he takes her out, right? She goes in. She puts on something nice, you know. He's out there waiting, and the guy is like bleeding on the sidewalk, and the cop shows up, and the cop realizes he's like a made guy, and so he basically arrests the beaten up guy and takes him away, and the girl comes out really looking nice, and she gets in his car, and he drives her, and he takes her to this place that is that place on 8th Avenue right next to Port Authority, and he goes past the oranges and apples and, you know, into those doors and past the, you know, storage place, goes through a refrigerator, comes out another refrigerator door into this big room, and there's hundreds of people in a bar, and it's kind of looks like a warehouse, but every table has a beautiful white tablecloth on it, and nice chairs to sit on, and silverware, and a nice lamp, and Tony Bennett singing, right? And that's why I take ABBA, and they are like. And that's because they were Swedish, and that they were the Swedish that have traveled all around the world, and it cut them in half, because half of them were like looking at this situation they were in just by, you know, I'm not a movie star, I'm not, right? I'm just the ME, you know, I'm just the electric, and I really didn't do anything. I just made sure there wasn't a buzz on the line that fed their sound system. You know, that's the one thing I was, you know, there to do. And oh, we're back. Yep, we're back. And my phone, my laptop died. The plug fell out, and right. Hopefully the show will go up, but who cares? We got a new one going here, and it's 38 minutes and 49 seconds. And let's see how much battery is. Well, no, it won't tell me how much battery is. I'll go over and plug it in at some point sooner rather than later. Anyway, but ABBA was like just blown away, because I looked like, and I was relatively young. I was probably 22, 24. And no, when was ABBA? Well, ABBA was the 70s, right? Right. So when they were worldwide, and they were like, but it did this thing, and I had already spent some time in Sweden. You know, my friend who lived there, I went there in Forshuga, right? So I already kind of got it down, the Swedes, and like I said, ABBA was like, and that was cool, right? And so we went back, had the show, and then they went, you know, they had the after hours party, and I went there, and I looked around, and I went home. You know, it was like, it's nothing. And those guys, I saw they did another show, and they said, you know, what happened? Somehow they either, because I was working for Bob Goddard at Pig Lights, and I used to crash. He had a great building on 16th Street over on the west side where the meat district used to be. And it was like, it was, warehouse kind of thing. And it had 6 floors. And the top floor we turned into a great loft apartment where we all kind of hung out. She's the trans. I don't know what happened to the blonde girl. But you know what it was? I took them there for dinner and they were just so like, right? And they were wearing their ABBA clothes. That was the other thing. It was like so, they just stood out, and all the mobsters in their, snakeskin suits and Tony Soprano looks, just kind of looked at it. They really have a clue. They knew who I was. That's how we got in there, right? But I was Mike Finelli's boy, his godson, right? So and so I wasn't anything but Mike Finelli's boy, and the Stoll's son, right? And Mike Stoll, the great electrician, Grandpa Stoll and Mike Stoll. And so that was my lineage. That was my key to really go anywhere and do anything, because those two people were known by everyone. She started to go out like 3 years before the pandemic. So I have no idea about it. So ABBA was, like I said, they had this really interesting Swedish thing. And they were like half, because all the other Swedes I knew that were living like in, because one reason why I lived in Sweden was that I could get, the Swedish government somehow thought I was Swedish. Like, really? And I got a Swedish driver's license. And I used to go with my buddy. You know how you can go down to Stockholm? I don't know if they still do it, but back in the 70s, pretty much gave everyone 2-week vacation, and not just the 2 weeks off and, the 2-week salary, but they would send you like on an airplane or a boat, or do, have you go have an experience outside of Sweden, right? I guess you could take your vacation in Sweden, because there's so many nice places in Sweden to actually go to, especially up in the mountains, up in the lakelands. I love the lakelands in Sweden. Anyway, we would just, get on a bus and for sugar, go to Stockholm Airport, look at the big thing there, that what flights were leaving, that thing, go to the thing saying, hey, can we get on one of those things, the vacation thing? And they would say, sure. And they would, give us a ticket, and they would give us a visa from, Sweden into where, and I went to Greece, I went to Turkey, I went to, where else did I go? I went to Syria, I went to Iraq, where else did I go? Kuala Lumpur, a few other places. The obligatory, France and Germany and other places like that. I mean, we didn't fly, we took a train, right? But on the same Swedish nickel. 1780s, yes. Yeah. So anyway, that's why I was in Sweden for as much time as I was, because I had 3 good friends there, right? I had a buddy of mine who was from Worcester, Massachusetts. He married a Swedish girl to get out of the Vietnam War. And then he became he learned Swedish better than most Swedish. He learned the old Swedish folk songs and made a pretty good living at going around playing Swedish folk songs for the Swedish folks and making records on it. And he had 3 beautiful little kids, and his wife was a painter, an artist. And then his mother died, and Jimmy Carter hadn't given the guys who ran away from Jimmy Carter doesn't get enough credit for that. He let all the kids come back from running away from the Vietnam War. And, people gave him a hard time for it, but that was one of the more righteous things he did. And so my friend couldn't come back, otherwise he was going to go to jail. and his mother got cancer, and my friend found out about that, and he sent her you know, you know, she said that, you know, your father won't let me really, it's too expensive to go see the doctor, and he says the cancer won't really kill me. And so my friend, he got her a ticket and a visa to come and live with him, and he was going to get the free health care for her to get fixed. And his father didn't, every time a letter showed up, he'd open it up and throw it away. And so the mom died of cancer. So he couldn't even go back and, you know, put her in the ground. And the father was a real jerk. So, and that's a good, you know, quantum of the characteristics of Americans are like that father of my friend. And so it's... So that's why I was in Sweden, because of him, because he tried to kill himself, and his wife called me up and said, "You got to come over. He's got a problem. He won't talk to the shrink. He won't talk to me. He tried to kill himself twice, and you need to come." So I said, "Okay, be right." I did. I got on to Freddie. You know, I went that day, got a ticket for Freddie Laker, got on the plane, went to Heathrow. You know, I bought the the Euro pass at Freddie Laker's and got a visa for 6 months, and I went with straight to his house, and he was in the hospital. Went straight to the hospital and said, "Buddy, what are you doing?" And he goes, "I don't know. I'm so depressed." And I said, "What? I said, "Yes, your mother, that was a tragedy. Your father's a jerk. You should not." He says, "It's not about." I said, "Of course it's about that. You feel guilt and you feel shame about, you know, you're here in Sweden. You got a great life. You got a beautiful wife. You got a great house, 2, 3 beautiful kids, and you feel shame." I said, "I'm not letting you do this." And I said to his doctor, so I went to the doctor, and he wasn't like physically fucked up. He was just, trying to kill himself, right? Took drugs, right? And I went to see his doctor, and I said, "So, what's up with my bud?" And he goes, "Well, blah 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 blah." I said, "Yeah, I know. He feels shame, da da da." So he done that to kill himself. That's not part of the protocol of this. And he goes, the doctor says, "Well, I suggested that he commit suicide." And I was like, "What?" And I just like throttled the guy. I said, "What are you, nuts?" I said, "I want you to, put him in my care." And I called up my boss, who was still alive. My dead boss I couldn't call up, but my boss who was running the hospital at Fort Hamilton in Brooklyn said, "Give me your phone." I called him up. I said, "George, talk to this jerk off." I told him the story, and George said, "Oh, Al is probably the best qualified person in the VA to deal with PTSD, and he's, has built all these protocols and da 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 da." And the guy goes, "Well, he doesn't have any degree." He goes, "You need a degree? I'll send you one." Because I told him the story of what it was, and so this guy who's like bird colonel, and has all the what do you call it? Gravitas, right? So, and Swedes are always, whatever, if you got a title or whatever, a gravitas is a big Swede thing, right? And anyway, we went, and I took them to Spain, took the whole family, the wife, the kids, my friend, and we went and rented a little villa I knew, basically it was a house near the beach, right? Near, I forgot what town it was, but it was really, this is before Europe really became the tourist disgusting place it is. I was so glad that I lived and traveled the world in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, because now it's just like, So that's the Swedes. They're great people. They're totally nuts, and they're loads of fun. They can drink better than anybody I've ever seen. They make the Russian drinkers look like pussies because the Russian drinkers are such sad sacks. They just, ooh, boo-hoo, boo-hoo. I mean, they really are. They're just, get a life, guys. And that's Russia's biggest problem. They never got a life, right? Ukrainians, on the other hand, they are wild, crazy, wacko. Meaning, when I grew up in Harlem, I lived in the salad bowl of the human race. Meaning, every Second Avenue, every 2 blocks was a different nationality, right? And I hung out with our school. And people go, well, everyone should speak English. And in our grammar school, there were like 150 different languages. And the people who got off the boat, who were teachers in Lithuania or Paris or wherever they were, got a job in a New York City, school district teaching these kids. And they learned English quick, and, by the end of 1 year, everyone spoke English, right? But everyone else, and the other people learned to speak French or Lithuanian or whatever. I mean, it was, like I said, I lived in a salad bowl. Not a melting pot, it was a salad bowl, all these separate flavors on top of each other. And that's what makes a good salad, not just one gloppy, Velveeta cheesiness, no. So anyway, and Americans are just so easily played. We are bovine, domesticated sheep. We really are. We are the most sheeple people there is, right? So the Russians are just whiny bitches. Now, Ukrainians, those are people you do not mess with. They're great people. They give the shirt off your back. They're loads of fun. They really are great musicians and dancers and artists. I mean, everything is art to them. Whether they're brushing their teeth or, combing their hair, they are just, I love them, right? But you diss them, they will go to the end of time to get you, right? Not just get you, but your whole family, your pets, everybody, right? Like I had a crew, I had some buddies in when I was like, I don't know, before the nun murdered me, I was about 6, I guess. And my grandma would just go out and play. So I would go out and play with whoever was on the street. And there were no police in Harlem in those days. It was just grandmas. They were all on the stoop. And if they saw you do something wrong, they got a hold of your grandma. When you got home, you got it, right? So there were no police. There was no crime. There was no problems, right? It was still, there was, prostitution, gambling, and drugs, and alcohol, and you name it. But it was part of the culture. It wasn't a problem, right? And so the Ukrainians were very much that. Everything was the culture and not the problem. But if you diss them, so I had these 4 brothers that, they were fun. They were interesting. They were well read. They spoke English. They spoke Russian. They spoke 3 other languages, and they understand. I was really into geometry at that time, and they kind of understood that. They didn't look at me like, huh? There's a lot of people either just, oh, that's how, or like, huh? These guys just said, well, beyond, oh, that's kind of fun. That's kind of cool. That's kind of nice, right? And I went and met their family. And then when my grandma found out from some other grandma that I was hanging out with them, she goes, listen, they're Ukrainian. They're very nice people, but it's easy to piss them off and you won't even know it. And so, and because they're really nice, they are really, generous in a lot of ways, but they have this kind of attitude that is hard to understand, and that if you, diss that, they can go after in serious of ways. So you have to disentangle yourself without dissing them, right? When they come, you see them on the street. That's why I kind of learned how to see things 12 blocks away. I saw them coming. I would go someplace where they couldn't. I mean, they wouldn't see me. I'd see them. I would not be there. So they kind of slowed down, and So I never dissed them. I just kind of was no longer kind of hanging out with them. And it wasn't like I said anything or anything got back to them or none of the above. And then I wasn't there anymore. I went back to my parents. I think that might have been one of the reasons I got sent back to the folks. It was time to reintegrate me into the feral nest. And so years later, right? Years later, after I became the dude in discos, and I was living in Soho. I was one of the Soho artists, and there was a guy named Benny who was the guy who took care of everything, the janitor. But that was just what people called him. But he kind of ran everything, right? And such a go ho ho, yes. So, Benny once took me up to this loft on Worcester Street. It was beautiful, 7,000 square feet. It had 12 gigantic skylights, beautiful light. And he said, he showed me this building, and he goes, listen, this building doesn't have alternating current, it has DC. It left over from Con Edison, and DC is still in the ground, and because the subways are run by it. And so all the juice here is run by DC. And these are beautiful spaces. And how do we get, and Con Ed doesn't want to redo these buildings, right? How do we get AC in this building? And I said, oh, no problem. We'll make a rectifier. Let's go. And we went uptown to where the Hudson River is, and that's where all the tugboats are. And they have these gigantic big boat yards and junkyards of tugboat paraphernalia, like motors and engines and diesels and batteries and rectifiers, big rectifiers, because they need a certain voltage to do this DC. They need a certain voltage to do this AC, right? And so they had some really serious, interesting, like 19th century technology, which is exactly what that DC in this building was. And so each floor had a gigantic cable going to it and a wooden box, and they poured tar over the cables. And all I had to do is take a big spike through the tar into the copper, and I had welded like welding cable onto it and hooked it up to the rectifier. Bango! 3-phase, alternating current, 400 amps, right? Each floor, right? So you could do anything, anything, right? So did that to that whole building, made each rectifier, and he goes, all you got to do now, and he showed me all these other buildings he took, just make sure that the light bulbs are in there and the hallways are swept out. And you can have that loft for as long as you want it. No rent, no nothing, just you can have it for as long as you want it. It was a beautiful loft, right? And he and I basically then cut up each of those other floors into like 4 1,000 or 2,000 square foot lofts and rented them out to the lawyers, because there was an article in the New Yorker about Soho and living in lofts. And so, we gave these guys, 2,000 square foot loft, sheetrock walls, big windows at one end, a toilet, a drain, a sink, a toilet, a circuit breaker box, and that was it. And then I would, build them the dream loft they wanted, so we'd sell them. So we couldn't quite sell them the lofts themselves. What we could do is we charge them a key fee, right? $25,000 for the key to open up the door to get in, right? And then they paid Benny $300 a month rent. It wasn't rent; it's like service charge. He just made sure that no one got hide nor hair of it, and they could be there and have their good fun and blah blah blah. So anyway, we do that, and we do another building and another building, And I'm making about 30 of these guys, so I would make really super duper amazing lofts on the inside. I had carpenter friends, I had furniture making friends, I had sheetrock friends, I had a lot of other artists. We all had trades to make our living while we're being an artist before we became rich and famous. The T-Pay, yeah, it's one-time deposit and still in Japan. Yep, that's it. Yep. So anyway, so that was, and I would do that. We'd do a floor and make about 200 grand. Benny would get most of it. I would get a nice chunk, and I would go up and live in Europe. That's one of the reasons I did the Swedish thing. Or I go live somewhere else in America or in South America, I would, whenever I traveled for like 6 months to a year, maybe 2 or 3. When I went to Australia, I was there 3 years, because you can't really get the flavor of anything if you go and visit. That's why I hate tourism. People go to like these great places around the world and they spend a weekend there. And it's just because you go to Paris and you go to all those museums, it's like, give me a freaking break. I went to France a number of times for a month or two at a shot, and I would go, like in Paris, I went over to the south side of Louvre and down by the river where the working people were, and I found a place that had a nice market, its own market, outside market in a little square, and 5 or 6 coffee shops and a couple of really nice restaurants. And I found a place that I could rent a room for like $20 a week. I mean, this is like the 70s. And it was great. I'd be there for 4 or 5 months. I would go at my own leisure. It was I had a Euro pass because I got it from Freddie Laker flying, New York to Heathrow. And if you got that ticket, he had a thing with the Euro train things, right? So it was a great thing to do. And hardly anybody did it. It was like mind-boggling that nobody would do that. And I could make a nice chunk of change in a short period of time in New York, and then I would go. And so that's why I was infamous, very successful, but I didn't have a career. Meaning, all my friends who were artists, they all, became artists. Richard Hold on. How about that? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? You're live. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Yoo-hoo. Uh, well, I might go now. Yoo-hoo! It says I'm live. There's 2 people there. Now, okay. Good. Okay. We're back. Anyway, I'm nothing special. All the life I've had, it's been an amazing life, a great blessing. And the one true thing I learned from my grandmother was to be conscious of what I was doing and appreciate it and have gratitude, right? And that shame and guilt were the biggest sins you could have, right? That all you really have is a mistake. If you make a mistake, learn from it. Don't torture yourself, right? And have gratitude for everyone who's in your life, right? Now, I'm a chucklehead, Back when I was the dude, between the ages of 9 and 16, I was the kid. I had all these friends who were like in their 30s, I was Allen Ginsberg's roommate, right? When I was a kid, and everyone called me the kid, And that was my handle, Adam Purple called me the kid. Or Buddy. And then Adam called me Buddy. So, but after I got to be 16, and I really went through a real change, because between birth to 16, everything just flowed. There was never, there were a lot of catastrophes. People murdered me a couple of times. I got really sick a few times. But they were all experiences that I learned from and made me who I was, And my grandma basically gave me the heads up on that one. And my Aunt Gracie did, and Cardinal Cushing, and a few other of my mentors of that period. When I was 10, I met Billy Kluver, who basically brought modern art to America and did the Armory show. You can go Google that one. And he also got a Nobel Prize for discovering the background radiation of the universe. Billy was quite an interesting artist and a brilliant physicist. You can't beat those 2 put together. A drink. In Nepal, yes. You would drink. And Raqqa, yes, I love Raqqa in Nepal. Yep, Nepal's a great place. One friend of mine, I have my buddy who travels the world. He knows how to do it. I did it in a nice way, but he really has it down. He is the world traveler. And his gig is to make videos of his travels. He puts them on the YouTube, to amaze, to amuse, to do something else, And he comes from Yugoslavia. And so he has, he's got a great attitude about life, because he saw the most horrible things. Yugoslavia is, people going on about the Gaza Strip. Yugoslavia was in the same thing. And Alana there, where she comes from, her genetic stock experienced the same thing. This is a human thing we do. We are so criminally insane about being stupid about our egos. So anyway, yes, Yugoslavia wasn't online, or what happened to your people wasn't online either. The fact that no one will take responsibility is just, it makes me quite upset. Oh, Rachel's back. I'm back. Sorry, I had to step away. That's okay, good. Rachel, get a hold of me at the dudeawake42 at Gmail. And I'll send you some of my novels. I'd love you too, Lana. Yeah, you two girls would you should exchange emails there. So what else? Life is a great gift, right? It is a great. We're only here. This is a sandbox. Everyone takes everything incorrectly serious. We should never take ourselves serious, but what we do, we should take serious. We should be and serious by being responsible. Well, martyred artist, he is exactly that. He's a martyred artist. So he has a shtick about, he is one of the people who found me on the internet through this show. And like everyone, at first, had some issues to talk about. And so he's one of those people who, just Lana, look at you and me. How long have we known each other? What, 3 or 4 years? Just look how much you've changed, girl. And most people who know you in Sweden would probably say, oh, she's still the same, How many people, would tell you that you changed? You did that with John as well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And again, I did, like I said, I don't give up on friends, right? Because most people who are in that situation don't really have any friends, right? And you just look at martyred artists, you can see why he doesn't have too many friends, right? Now, he has different, like I said, he has different personalities. Not personalities, personas. John has different personalities. He has different personas. And he knows that they're there. John, not so much. And John isn't, he doesn't have the neuroses or the psychoses that we'd say he has multiple personality disorder. No. John is just, he's a child, That's, and he I can have a childish nature. I love to have fun. I love to, what's the best thing about children? Lana, what is the best thing about your child? The best thing about your child is that unconditional love, right? And, I don't really defend these people. And this is the honest truth about me. Guys like that are an interest to me because I'm interested in human nature, and they represent a human nature, right? And there are certain things that I'm trained and capable in assisting, but one thing I don't do is enable people like John. So I haven't seen John in 2 years, and I talk to him on the phone every now and then. And he goes on and on his show about me and this and that. I mean, he has a thing about me. And but I wouldn't go back to the school unless he actually wanted to change. Meaning, I could do my shrinky thing and assist him because, like I said, he doesn't have a psychosis. He's a spoiled child, is what he is, right? But that's not a psychosis. It's a neuroses, right? And there's a big difference, right? uh, no, no, but you do. But the thing about it is, like I said, I don't enable people's bad habits. So I'm not going to have anything to do with John, right? But I'm not going to throw him under the bus either, right? That's because I know too many people who do that, and I'm not going to do that. And there's a real difference from having a space between me and someone, right, and have nothing to do with them, pretty much, than throwing them under the bus, right? Yeah. What do I like about John? Really nothing. There's nothing about John that I like. Now, conversely, there are many things that amuse me about John. I'm very amused by John, right? When I watch him do stuff, right? The other amazing, again, so I'm writing a series of 18 novels, right? And John is a character actor in 4 or 5 of them. And he is great fodder for my novels. So, these are the selfish reasons what I have anything to do with John is that A, he somewhat amuses me, right? Even when he would throw me, and that was the other thing. It was like almost winning the Irish lottery in a certain respect. When he would throw me out, it would put me into a position that I would have the most amazing, exciting thing, because it would just like there was no really, I got to a point where I could tell that he was going to go off the rails. And so a lot of those times, I just, got in the car and drove away and didn't come back. I didn't let him have the thing of like, I just would leave. But what it did do was, each of those 32 times he threw me out, or I left because he was going to throw me out, was a doorway that I went through, and I had a great experience and an amazing magical mystery tour, right? Every one was truly, and again, that's 32 things that I have told stories about in these novels. That's how, whenever you take a course in how to write, it's like, write about what you experienced. And so John definitely gave me these doorways to have these really fun, strange, mind-boggling experiences, right? And so I knew he never, I never put myself in harm's way with John. And that's why I haven't been around him in the last 2.5, 3 years. It's because there's I done it, the physicality of trying to help him out, done it, don't need to do it. Unless he's willing to change. And I can tell that if I have a conversation on the phone with him, whether he'd be in that stage. And he hasn't. He's going on and on and on about on his show. Oh, Al's going to come and live with me again. Blah, 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 blah. We're going to make movies. Blah, blah, blah. Good luck with that. Yes, he kicked me out in the worst possible ways. But conversely, because of that, and it didn't matter what time of year it was. Summertime, springtime, fall, winter. Yes. Every time he threw me out was kind of the worst time to throw me out. But it was so much better than living with him. And it was like, so the first time he threw me out, right? I'll do this, a quick one. I might have to get up and plug this thing in. I don't know how much battery is left. My poor little server there in YouTube land would get upset if I did it twice. Okay, I'm back. And I also have to get up and walk. I can't say in one place too long. Here we're back. So anyway, see, I know, I remember, love you. I'll make it quick. So John's like, bemoaning. He does all these crazy things because he wants a girlfriend, blah, blah. I won't go into the gory details. But he loses, just the most amazing, stupid, and so he gets a Russian mail order bride, right? And she shows up. He drives to D.C. and picks her up at whatchamacallit, please, you're not, his mama. Okay. It's a fun story, though. And I just, and I don't see Lana. You sometimes, don't look at the big picture. You see certain parts and say, that's it. That's only it. And it's not only that, right? So like I said, I've got nothing to do with John for the last 3 years. I'm in a good place here. And anything I did with John, right? I'm disappointed in John in that, I gave him many opportunities to get a life and he didn't get one, right? So, but that's no skin off my teeth, right? I did my best. See, and that's the other, remember earlier on in this conversation, I told you about the 3 rules. And one of the other ones, I was talking about knowing your 360 and your 20. The other thing, part of that, knowing your 360 and your 20, is always doing your best. You can't be perfect, but you can do your best. And in your best, you just do your best. You make a mistake, you don't complete it like you thought you or this or that. You have a conscious intent to do your best. It always works out. And see, and the other part of that, doing your conscious intent of doing your best, is you can't have any expectation of how it's going to work out. So my whole thing with John Boy is I did my best on every point, and I had no expectations of what John was going to turn out to be, right? And so everything that I had done with him was amazing, for me anyway, right? For him, not so much, right? Fine. I remember I don't. Never did. Anyway, so we'll move from that subject matter. But I had just the best experiences when he threw me out and I went on these adventures. I mean, truly, I won't even talk about how he threw me out. I'll just give you 3 out of 32. First one, middle of winter. My car's in pretty good shape. I have a full tank of gas. I have all kind of, like somebody looked in my car today, goes, why did all this stuff? I said, well, I have everything I need no matter what happens. And the time comes, I've got everything in my car, right? I got my tools, I got some clothes, I got some canned food, I got things to keep me warm, I got this, I got that. I'm prepared. I'm always prepared, right? So when the first time John threw me out, was, I don't know, probably January, it's probably this time of year, and it was like super cold, ridiculously cold. And he throws me out, right? And when he throws me out, I walk out the door, and the Russian girl, she's naked. She's got a mink coat on with a hood. You know how the Russians have the minky things, right? She got this mink coat, and she's like smoking 4 cigarettes at once. I've got to get out of here. I've got to get out. And I just get in the car and drive away and looking in the back mirror, and she's kind of naked, right? Her nice breasts in her front. She's got her open. I've got to get out of here. I just kind of drive away. So, well, that'll be good for a novel at some point. So I drive down, and it's like 9 a.m. I got a full tank of gas, and I go, where, I drove over to this place. I got on my phone, and I called up everyone I knew. There was nobody around. Just, went to message. Hey, give me a call. I need a place to hang, blah, blah, blah. And everybody, nobody answered the phone. I said, okay. And I said, well, you know what? There's a place in West Virginia that, like, about 5 years before this moment, I had this girlfriend who was a born again Christian, but she was the wildest, craziest girl you could ever and could play. And she was a West Virginia girl, could play any instrument, and she was brilliant. Went to school to be a medical doctor, and then bailed from that. She went to school. She was a resident, and she did all that stuff. And then she goes, "Oh, this sucks." And her parents disowned her because she did that, right? And then she did some other stuff, and she found a Christian thingamajig and went to Africa and and said, these guys are jerks. And she came and she ran into me, and so she was like doing her own thing. And she said, "I like you. You're smart. You have a lot of skill sets, why don't we just go on the road and help people?" I said, "Sounds like fun to me." And so we did that for about a year, but mostly in West Virginia, because she had come up from a lot of folks from Beckley, but she went to University of West Virginia at Morgantown and stuff like that. So we went, and this coal mine did a mountaintop, taking the coal out, and then it rained and it blew out this town. Just wiped it off the face of the earth, right? And we heard about that, and we went up there, and the people who could get out got out, and it was a nice town. It was a really nice town, and it probably had, maybe at its height, 20,000 people. It had had a nice main street, had a bunch of buildings that were concrete, stone buildings, maybe a bank, a this, and that. City Hall, fire station, a nice road, and the bridge, nice bridge, but got wiped out by when the gigantic whoosh of water came out from the mountain. And so, we went there, and there was like maybe 30 families, right? And they were like almost de-evolving. They were Devo, they were de-evolving. And they were, a lot of the holler folk came down, and they were, and so we wanted to help them out. And so we went and talked to everybody, and there was like this big, had a beautiful hall, music hall, I guess, theater, and it, had no windows, so it was a little dark in there. So I'm trying to figure out about electricity. And in West Virginia, they have so much natural gas that just kind of comes out of the ground, that they have laws that if you have a piece of property and you knock a pipe into the ground and natural gas comes out, you can burn it you want, right? So the power plant that ran that town, went over and took a look at it, and it was still in great shape, right? The water didn't hit it, right? I went and looked at the transformers. They were fine. I looked at the transmission. Everything was great. And the downtown there was nothing wrong. Now, where the cables went across into the other part of town, they were over, but somebody had snapped them off at the insulators at the end of the line. And so pretty much everything was. And I said, anybody here know anything about natural gas? Anybody here a plumber? Anybody? And this one goes, "Oh, yeah. I said, "She got any tools?" "Oh, yeah. I said, "Got a car?" Yeah. And so he was the one guy who still had his house, and he actually had a gas pipe in the ground next to his house. And he had a little generator, and he was doing fine, right? So I showed him everything, and not only was the power thing there, but the water thing was there too. So if we get electricity going, the whole town's going to have water, right? So you have water and electricity, you're back in the 20th century. Anyway, so he and I and his son, fooled around, jury rigged it. I'm not great with motor. He was. And so, we put the gas into the generator motor, started up, worked, threw the switches, bang, the town's, got it. We got the water going. We turned off, where the pipes were broken, there were valves, we turned it off. So all the buildings had water. Their septic system kind of worked pretty good. And the town was alive again. So those 20 or 30 families had a place. So the grandmas who were still keeping people kind of alive, and this was kind of in the springish period of time, and this was years before John. This is just how I met this girl. And so we did that. We lived up there, and we were like the kings and queens. We we were the common sense people who were having a good time and wanted them to have a good time and have a life. And they had been written off, meaning the state, the county, nobody cared. But now they had water and electric, and they had these buildings that were nice and houses down the block. So everyone got a house. We had buildings. You got the music hall going, and there was one whole side when the mountain came down. It took a forest, and kind of all the trees went into the river and got washed away. But all this great dirt was where this park was, and they turned it into a farm, and they had vegetables, and so they could feed themselves, they could can the stuff, they could get out, because if you went down the other way, a bridge road, and then down this neighborhood over to where the river was, and the river didn't run a lot unless it really, really rained. So if it was dry, you could drive across the river, get on the road, and go out to 66, right? So this was great. We spent a summer there. We did that. Everything was great. She stayed because she was a doctor, so she was doing the medical thing. And, we were great buds. We had sparks for a good bit of that summer, but she kind of was hankering for one of these mountain boys. So, that was cool. And so went on my way. And so now, like 15 years later, I'm there in Roanoke, Virginia. I call up my friends. I'm sitting in the Texas Tavern eating a hot dog at like 6 a.m. and I have a cheesy Western. And I decided, I'm just going to get on 202 and go straight to 66 and go straight to see if those people are still there. That would be, they have heat, they have electric, water. Got a lot of, I could live in any of those buildings and, I'm the king, right? And maybe the girl's still there, and that would be fun. So I'm kind of driving and kind of go over that neck of the woods. And the river is just a rushing river. I mean, there's no crossing that sucker. And I kind of walk over to where there's the river and there's the town. I got binoculars and I'm looking. There's nobody there. Nobody. And, the generator isn't running because that was a kind of omnipresent sound. And there seemed to be nobody there. And I had no idea what happened to them. It's like the lost island of Dr. Moreau or something. It's like, what happened? I mean, they had it. No one cared. No one's going to try to get taxes from them. They could feed themselves, had electricity, water, cars, they could do stuff and take it out and sell it. And they could take stuff apart from all those. And those were nice old buildings. You could sell hinges and doorknobs and as antiques, Anyway, so I saw nobody there. So I said, okay, where to next? So I turned around, got back on 66, and I decided that I was going to go up to Morgantown because that's a college town. And I had some friends up there. I was going to see if anybody was up there. And I still, I had only driven about 100 miles. I still had like 300 miles worth of gasoline left in my tank. And so I said, you know what? I got $40 in my pocket. I'm going to go to this where this road hit 66. There was a great truck stop there, great breakfast. I said, I'm just going to go have a breakfast and see if I bump into anything. So I let that notion percolate in my mind and think good thoughts about it. And I got there, and it's really freaking cold. And this girl is sitting on the steps of this truck stop diner, And she's dressed quite nice. I mean, not dressed or anything. She got pants on. She's got shoes on. She got a sweater on. She got a cap on. She got a jacket. Not winter clothes at all, right? But these are clothes that a bourgeois, college girl would wear, and her outfit probably cost her $200 or $300, right? The shoes, the pants, the shirt, everything. I mean, she didn't get any of this stuff at Walmart's or whatchamacallit, Goodwill, right? So I look and she's got a little cup like, hey, you got spare change? And I said, wait a minute, what are you doing spare changing? Where are you from? I'm from Atlanta. I said, what are you doing here? She goes, well, I was hiking. I said, hiking? It's January. What are you nuts? She goes, well, I was with some friends. I said, where are they? She said, well, they're in the woods. I came down to get some money and buy some food. We're hungry. I said, you're hungry? You want a meal? I'll buy breakfast. Tell me your story. So I go, right? And she tells me the whole story, that she, comes from a very bourgeois, her father's a banker, her mother's a lawyer. She went to, Brown. She studied, art. And may I ask you one thing? Yes, you kill. No, you kill what? No, I would never kill anything or anybody, right? And I'm trying to get back to being a vegetarian. But no, that's not part of. So you'd have to expand on the you kill thing because it has so many. What do you kill? You tricky monkey, you. Nothing. I do my best not to kill anything, meaning I'm really, I got rid of all my money, my stuff, my everything. And I live on like I said, relatively comfortable, but not convenient. The thing that kills is convenience, right? The other thing that kills is belief. So I have no belief, and I am not addicted to convenience. What do I love? Okay. What do I love? I love new experiences. I love making people happy. I love having a plan and bringing it to completion, right? Or completion sounds like expectation, but it's more like, this thing that happened with the event and everything we did here. Now, I wasn't like the boss or the king or any of that, but I was there, and where everyone had and it was a very stressful time taking care of 42,000 people in 3 counties that the state and the county and the federal government didn't have time or care to take care of. Yes, I'm a leader when it counts, right? And if I need to, I'll lead. But I do it more as by example. I just be myself and go straight into it, right? And that's what it was just me and this other guy, and then the superhero from Microsoft with the satellite and the generator, bingo bango, right? But I was there to hook it up to that, had to be, let's do this, let's do that. You go up there, do that. And, and within 40 minutes, we had light and we had a satellite communication that part of the state didn't have. The Army came to us, the Corps came to us, the Corps of Engineers came to us on the 5th day we were there and said, we can't call home. We hear you have a satellite. Can we plug into your stuff? I said, sure, plug in. And they called up, the general, and we're in a closet and on the speakerphone, and the colonel's talking to the general, and the general, are you at Site Y? Yes, sir, we're here. Are you at Site Y? Yes, sir, we're here. What should we do? Are you here at Site Y? Yes, sir, but what should we do? Give us our orders. And the general said, just stay at Site Y. So we hung up, and he turns to us and goes, what do you guys need? So we had our own army. He had 4 helicopters, right? And he had these big MRAPs and big trucks and big front end loaders, and we fixed, the roads that are up in Pogey, we fixed, right? And DOT said it was going to take 4 years to fix a road. We did it in 2 days. I bet he took. Yes, he did. I mean, John did that, but so what, right? I have other photographs, and photographs, it's about, right? So, I grew up with my grandparents. I don't need photos of them. I took care of my parents for 28 years until they died. I don't need photographs of them. And I understand why you just want to destroy John, because he really is the worst of the worst of the lazy schmuck characteristic of the American. I almost had to write the word on, when you think you're the best, what is that word? It starts with an I. It was right on my tongue, right? When you think everything is owed to you, that's John, And that's why he's miserable. He's the patron saint of misery. You don't have to do anything to screw him up. He's doing a great job, You really don't, right? And that's why he is so amusing. I just watch him. It's just... I love it when you get so, and the message is held in review. Let's see what you said. Let's see. Yep, exactly. So, so the bottom line is, I'm not the vengeful. Like I said, when I was in the ashram, right, when they were teaching us to be monks, and I would say, the ashram was a Zen Buddhist monk from Japan, right? And basically I was learning, he was a healer, so I was learning, but this guy was the real deal. So you just don't learn those things. You have to start from scratch, right? So we had to learn how to breathe. We had to learn how to move. We had to, all of the above, right? And I was, he loved me. He said, so all these people, we all got there through other people. I got there through my boss. And the other people were like big time doctors and people specialists on blah, blah, blah. And so, I don't need to learn how to sit here and meditate. I need to understand what that technique you use to, and the guy said, no, well, you're not learning that until you can learn how to do this. And so those guys fell by the wayside real quickly. And there was, after everybody, it would start out with maybe 18, and it ended up with 3 of us who were his, and I call you guys my adepts. That's what we were his. And so, but back when there were a bunch of them, and so a couple, maybe 10 tried to hang in there and learn how to meditate and learn how to breathe and all the above. And we'd be sitting there in group meditation, and I would go so deep, I would be snoring like a chainsaw. And these guys, oh, can't you shut them up? I can't meditate with that noise. And my sensei would just laugh and say, no, owls in deep meditation, right? So anyway, I learned all of that. And part of that, when we built a hambu, right, a school, right, that's what a hambu is. So we had to learn jujitsu, right? And we had to learn kung fu and a few other martial arts because they were the key components of the healing, because you had to learn all of the different spots in your body that if you just touched it, you would, like Spock pinches a nerve on the neck. So we learned all of that in the martial art form. And so basically, we learned how to kill. We learned how to disarm. We learned how to, really be serious badasses. And then we took an oath not to hurt anyone, not to do no harm, right? And so we had all this knowledge of doing that. So we could, I am. I'm your grandpa. Of course I am. But, so, yes. So it was great being a badass and not having to be one, right? When someone who was a bully or any of that, I would just smile at him and say, let me look at your palm. Like this, here, I'll tell you this good story. So a couple of weeks ago, so the event was in September, right? So September, October, and by November, we had gotten taken care of everything, right? But still, there's a lot of need here, right? And one reason why we took care of everything is that this thing was so traumatic that it wiped 1,800 people away. And the only thing the Army did was they came in with Black Hawk helicopters and flew 900 of those people out of here, took them to someplace else. We don't know where, but they took them away. They said, listen, the government's going to condemn this neck of the woods because the roads and everything have been just totally, there is nothing to give you life. So if you want to get out of here, you have to get on a helicopter now. Well, there were a lot of people who had farms and animals, and they weren't just going to leave them. So about, I don't know, 200 families, maybe 600 people stayed there. And there, a number of them, their property was condemned and taken over by eminent domain and then sold to the developers, right? What happened to me? I was great. Nothing harmed my little deep green. Now, the roads coming to it was amazing. The mountains, the trees kind of slid down and got shot out of the ground like artillery shells. These gigantic trees that were like 200 feet tall, and, the circumference was like 3 feet. They weighed about 20 tons each. They were shot not over the valley, but from where they were up to where the road was, up about 60 feet to 200 feet, and just covered the roads, the Forest Service road and the little road, the dirt road that I'm on, and the death road that when they were going to build a community there, and they sold the property and then left, and nobody did anything. And that was like 40 years ago. Anyway, so my place didn't get touched. Now, one rich guy who had a house there, tree smack right in the middle of it. Luckily, nobody was there, or they'd be dead. And so nothing on my property got touched. My deck, house, and my man cave, and my car, because my friend came and got me right just before the storm was about to hit. He got me about 10 o'clock. I was asleep, and I was in my pajamas. So the first 2 weeks that we were doing all of this stuff, taking care of all these people, I was still wearing my pajamas, still had my old lady robe and my bunny slippers, right? And I was like, I was like the diplomat. Jar was like Bob Hope, and there was 600 other people working there, and we never had a meeting. We would talk to each other and figure out what it is, and we never had a meeting. And what was the best about it? And all these people just went inside themselves and looked inside themselves and said, this needs to be done. I'm going to do my best and go do it. And they did. And that's why everything worked out. We had no clipboards. We had no any of that because we couldn't, because everything was so slammed to the wall and no one was doing anything. And these people had no place. They were looking at us like, I'm hungry. I have no clothes. I have no shoes. And we had to take care of them all. And what happened was, the first miracle was Mr. Microsoft came in, our superhero, put the satellite dish and dropped off 4 generators, which were probably worth about $5,000. I mean, he probably left us $10,000 worth of stuff, the satellite stuff, all the servers and the Wi-Fi stuff, and all the extension cords and lights and tools. And then, after he left, because he went off to the next place and helped them put up satellite dish some other place. And so did the federal government do that? No. Did FEMA do that? No. Did the state do that? No. Did the county do that? No. Now, Microsoft did it, but I got to know this guy pretty well. And he had been an engineer at Microsoft, and he had, and he was at a certain place in California when something went down. And Microsoft, they had everything they needed to fix what could be fixed to keep people from dying communication-wise. And without getting any kind of yes from his superior, he went off and did it. And then the state of California, I think it was, gave Bill Gates a big award for doing that, right? But it wasn't Bill Gates, it was this guy. So Bill said, okay, you're in charge from now on. I'm going to start a 501c3, and we're going to, you're going to be in charge of helping people in catastrophes. And that's what this guy did for most of his career. And like I said, he was like, superhero, gangster, angel, right? And so that was the first guy. Oh, you guys, you have no internet, do you? No, we had no electricity, so bang. He left. And within 20 minutes, a tractor trailer flatbed showed up and dropped off 10 tons worth of water, in single, those 32 packets, maybe 1,000 of those, and boxes and boxes of canned food, and a ton of toilet paper, right? And a bunch of, a couple of crates of, when you opened them up, they had 40 or 50 really good first aid kits. I mean, really good. Well, not just 2 Band-Aids and a gauze, but I mean, real serious. If you gave it to an EMT, that kit could save lives. So we had that, the first truckload, right? And then our internet folk went out and sent the word out, because there was no internet in the 6 counties around us, into 2 states, in North Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia. So, and West Virginia, and a little bit of Kentucky, right? So there was nothing in a 200-mile square thing except us. Even the counties, nobody had anything going. And so, and they had no electricity. It was just a mess, right? And so our people got on the internet through the satellite dish, and within 2 days, about 150, let's say, churches from all across America came and brought trucks, and brought, this one group of people came from Hawaii, and then went to California, and they got a tractor trailer, and they went to Target and Lowe's and bought $1 million worth of stuff and drove it to us. And that was just one of the 100-something churches that came. And then, a lot of churches came with their kitchens, and we, instead of like centralizing everything, we took it out to, there were about 30 little communities that got wiped off the face of the earth, right? And the third day was when the Army Corps showed up. And we fixed a number of roads that gave us access into those areas. And then we had to cut our way, through the forests, through the dirt roads to get to the people. But that's what it was. But anyway, it was interesting. And the first 2 weeks I wore my pajamas most of the time. And people would go, ow, because people would dump us off amazing amounts of clothes. We still have tons of it. And this weren't like stuff out of people's closets. Everything was brand spanking new. Everything we got was brand spanking new. And tons of you can't believe the stuff we got. I mean, generators and heaters and, just tool, you name it, we got it. And we put it straight out. We didn't hoard anything. I couldn't believe that. I mean, we're down to the last elements of it, but we gave it all away. And not only did we make people come to us, we went out to them because a lot of them didn't have cars, right? And we went out to not just the white people, but to everybody, Hispanic, Black, you name it, we did it, right? You going to bed? Last one? Okay, sweetie. So I think I told enough stories. So remember the email, dudewake42@gmail. I'll send you some of my novels. I love you. Stay in contact. Email, I think, is the best way. I haven't been able to figure out how to get on WhatsApp again because somebody did it for me, and I've tried, and until I can find somebody else to do it for me. I really am, just sleep. Love you, baby. Always great to hear you. I feel you all the time. You're always with me. So stay well, be good. Love you. How do I get out of here? Oh, hit the X. Yeah, that's it.